Hello and welcome to Sonic Talk, the episode 393. We've actually skipped one because we had a little bit extra last week. I did a piece with Ed, who's our modular botherer, as Rich very kindly put him, and also Rich Beach, who's our guitars editor. So that was a bit of extra NAMM action. We're going to try, I think we've kind of pretty much done NAMM. That was 3 episodes, pretty awesome. But the first thing that you'll probably notice is that we have an intro sequence. In fact, I'm going to play that again. What the hell? Yeah, baby. Peter Rundgren wins. After much voting, there it is. Lovely. Peter Rundgren wins the theme tune competition. That was also the animation by Steve Blacker, who was also a judge as he made that animation. I want to say thank you very much to him, stephenblacker.com. So do check it out. Oh, Synth Beast, is that you? Excellent. He says, I won. Wow, awesome. And the winner, as you will know, I haven't been trailing it all that much, wins the Creative Bundle from iZotope, which is pretty... let me see. I think I've got it somewhere. Where was that? I thought I had it here. Creative Bundle, which is worth £599. No, dollars. Awesome stuff from iZotope there. So they're sponsoring the show. And also, as you may know, they will also be giving away some stuff for, in fact, Iris 2. We have a winner from last week's competition or last show's competition. And we'll also be setting a new one. You'll need to be on Twitter for that. But I want to say thank you very much to iZotope for winning, for sponsoring the theme tune competition and also the show on a regular basis. Very much appreciated. So we're quite small this week. In fact, actually, before I say that, I should say... Peter Rundgren, you need to get in touch with me, and then, well, I've got your email, so I can get in touch, and the iZotope Fairy can do her thing. In fact, I had an email from the iZotope Fairy who's just had a holiday. I sent her the winner to the competition before last, and she said that she was going to iZotope Fairy the crap out of the prize winner, whatever that means. That means ultra efficient, I imagine. So she's obviously feeling love and had a good holiday. So well rested, iZotope Fairy. Always good news. You hear that occasional chuckle there? That's Gaz Williams. That's my guest this week. We're going to have a small and intimate gathering. Gaz Williams, of course, bass player, professional producer, and also does a bunch of content for Sonic State as well. In fact, if anything's to... if the emails are to go by, I think you may have something exciting for us to look at as well.
Yes. So, well... Before we go on to that, just to talk about the
theme tune. Yeah, why? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you know, if obviously the voting has to remain confidential, but when you look at who voted for what, it's amazing just how many people voted for other tunes. And obviously, Peter Rundgren's one got the most votes, but it's also, I think it's indicative of the quality of the entries, really, that
absolutely.
There was so much difference in the voting, and just really want to say thanks to everybody for doing such an amazing job. Really,
definitely,
there's so much fun going through it all. And
there is much call for top 10 in the chat room, and I think what I'll do is I'll do a sort of top. Well, top however many it is, and we'll put a little playlist together, and we can put all of that on there as well. So yes, and just so you know, the way it was voted for, what we did, we had them all in a spreadsheet. Entries came in one by one, and then all the judges had to vote for their top 5 points for their favourite, down to 1 for the least favourite of the 5 they've chosen. And then at the end, it was the one with the most points basically won the competition. So it was all kind of done that way, sort of hands off, just all it was all maths. But yeah, awesome.
Really
so yeah, we will at the chat room are requesting that. I haven't had time to do that this week because I will say one thing that trying to herd a load of Sonic Talk panelists into voting is quite a difficult task. I know they're all very busy people, and so it's quite, you know, it took a little bit longer than we'd hoped for, but there were so many entries. So once again,
incredible.
Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you everybody. I think that's enough love for the theme entry theme tunes, and we will post, as I say, we will post some of the other ones. So absolutely, thank you. Yes, it was actually other people's #1 choices. There were a couple of #1 choices actually. So that's the way it works. So yes, Gaz, back to you again.
Whoa, there we go.
Oh, so Pocket Operator.
All 3. And I have to say they are rather splendid. They're really good. What makes them good is the sound quality is really good. And I think that a lot of people are really concerned about this, the nature of them being on these like circuit boards.
Oh God, yeah.
But it's actually very stiff, and it actually feels pretty sturdy. And the buttons, which are kind of mounted on, I don't know if I can see that so well.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I see those. They're like surface mount buttons.
Yeah, they feel really sturdy. It's surprising. If that was going to put people off, I would probably say don't let that put you off, because they're all right. They're not particularly comfortable in the hand.
No, sharp edges and stuff.
Slightly sharp edges.
Actually, I didn't think about this, but what do the cases look like? Let's have a look at the pocket.
The cases I think the cases look awesome. They look really good, but they're quite expensive. They're almost the cost of the operator itself.
I'm just seeing if I can find one. Yeah, are they really? That's pricey.
Well, they're about €39, and I think they are €59. Although I think they might have actually gone up. They may be more expensive now. So
that's the euro. The euro's not been doing so well. I'm just trying to find.
Right. I think it's
pocket operators. Right, I'm just trying to look, see if I can find the
Swedish. There's something with the Swedish SEK at the moment. The Swedish crown. There's something going on at the moment there, I think, because the OP1, which I think since launch, its price, if you buy it from the store, is €799. If you look at the moment, it's €950. The OP1 is.
Ouch! I'm just looking. So these are they do a bit of stylish design, don't they?
Yeah.
Still looking at the hardware. Oh, look at that! Nice photos. Silicon Pro case.
That's the cases.
Oh, okay. So they look a bit like iPhone cases, kind of, but they've got that kind of buttony bit. Oh, they do look cute, don't they?
They do. They look really nice.
Wow, look at that packaging with the knobs sticking out and everything.
Yeah,
that's cute.
But I have to say, when it came through the post, I thought they'd only sent me one, because they're a lot smaller. They're much smaller than I was thinking they were going to be. Oops, I find it really. But just the thing that's really good, then, as I mentioned, is the sound quality is really, really good.
Right.
They sound full. They don't sound toy-like. They sound good. They sound real. It sounds like it's a proper.
Well, I think you were saying last week that that we think that they've put decent
yeah. Well, actually, if you can go back to that page that you were looking at that had the cases on and scroll up a little bit from there, you can see that they've been very open about it. And that shot there, they're showing the components. You can see what the DSP chip is, and also it says it's got the StudioLogic.
Oh yeah, there it is. I see the StudioLogic
DAC on there.
Oh no, I can't. I'm just trying to make that bigger, but it doesn't seem to. They've got it very nailed.
So really, I mean, that's where it's all going on. All the action's going on beneath the little screen on there. And what is really good about them is the amount of sounds in there is quite something, actually. You'd think that, I think based on maybe other things, I'm trying to think what else is like this, but like if you take the bass one, for instance, the bass one has 16 different bass sounds, right. But for each of the bass sounds, the two blue knobs control different parameters. So they're not like fixed. The parameters, they change depending which. So
it's kind of like the OP1 in that sense.
Yeah,
they're like different machines. Is that what they're all engines?
Yeah, engines. They feel it does. It is a bit like that. But I have to say, having an OP1 as well here, it doesn't sound like an OP1. It's not like you go, oh yeah, it's that OP1 sound. They've got a different sound. In some ways, it sounds a bit thicker than the OP1. Some maybe. I'm not sure about that. But the closest thing that you can compare them to is the Volkers in terms of the range.
Right.
And I'm sure we'll go into this when we do the review, but there's some notable differences. Obviously, the form factor and you know, them being digital devices, etc. But in terms of the operation, and some things the Volca maybe does better. For instance, Volca, you're not you know, these are just 16 steps. You can't change the step length. So you are essentially always working in bars of 4, right, whereas the Volcas can do any.
Yeah, that active step stuff is really good. I've been using that on the, I've got the desktop there, and
the SQ1
and the SQ1 there, which has got, and the active step stuff makes a really big difference. And one thing, in fact, one thing I was doing, I did this little jam at the end of the review that I shot. I did it this morning because the one I shot yesterday and posted on Facebook, the camera was all over the place. And you could do things like, you can have a sequence and a B sequence, and you can just have one note. And the way it works with the MS20 is the fact that you can pitch both of the oscillators from one pitch input, then you can modulate the second oscillator, the interval, with the second CV out. So if you change the root of the note, the sequence above it kind of changes. So you just basically have one step going at a time, so you can change the sort of whole root note. It's really kind of quite neat, actually. Anyway, I digress. More, have you got anything? Are you going to plug one in and let us hear anything, or is that too difficult for this? Or are we teasing?
No, I think we probably can. Let's have a look. I might need to set that up.
Okay, well let's. So, of the 3, which is your favourite so far?
Don't know. I'm leaning towards the bass one, but I like the rhythm. I like them. I think they're really good, and I think most people probably will be tempted to get all 3. Someone in the chat room has asked about the negatives, and then we're going to do a review of this. So,
oh yeah, I'll put that up. What's the negative?
Yeah.
Seems to be a lot of lambada talking in the for some reason in the chat room. I'm not quite sure. I think that's because it might not have they want bossa nova and lambada rhythms, I think. So the bass one, you think?
Well, as I say, I think people will probably have a similar experience. If they buy one, they'll probably will want to get the others. And this does lead me on to one of the negatives, and we'll look at this in detail, but this is what I initially thought was fabulous way of linking all of them together. They've got like an in and an out, so you can use a little 3.5mm stereo audio cable to link it, and it uses the 2 sides of the stereo, one to carry an audio signal across, and the other side to carry a click across. And then you can set the sync of them, so it passes the sync downstream. And by using that same sync, it means you can actually have Volcas, or, well, you could take a click track from your music software, just run it into it, and then the click track will act as the clock, okay. The sequencer will work to that. So it's that's really cool. And the way that, you know, you've just got one audio lead coming out, so the 3 units are only going to use up one mono input on your mixing desk. It's kind of pretty cool, but there's some big negatives that I've discovered with that. Now, I'm not sure whether to go into that now or to keep that back for the review.
I was going to just ask you about the fixed key of the bass and the synth. I think that, because that was something that you discovered. Is that true?
Oh yeah, no, it is.
Okay, and so they're fixed.
Yeah, and I've been wondering about that. It seems a bit annoying. It'd be great if there was a global transpose, but basically, like on the 2 tuned ones, the PO14 and the PO16, when you put in notes, you put them in unpitched, and then you hold on any of the notes that you've put into your 16 steps, and then you can change the knob. And on the screen graphics, it'll tell you what the knob is. What the pitch of that step is, and it'll say C, but it jumps straight to D, jumps straight to E,
no chromatic mode.
And it misses the sharps and flats.
Oh,
so
that's a shame.
Yeah. Now there's an effect that lets you it'll just pitch it up one step. But I mean, the whole sequence trying to work meaningfully in another key, forget about it.
Right.
You know, so, and also that means that the effect, which is really fun, is kind of tied to just like giving you those pitched notes. So a little bit of an oversight there. But what I was going to say, though, very briefly, is that when you connect them, chain them through, the volume level of the beginning of the chain is affected by each subsequent unit.
Right, so you can't have more than the maximum, I suppose.
No, well, you could. I suppose you could, but I think it's just that if you change the volume, say you want to set the volume on the last one in the chain, it turns the volume down for everything that comes before it. I'd really much preferred it if the volume level wasn't affected as it went downstream.
Okay. I don't know how you do that as you've got a single output, but yeah, fair enough. But just suffice to say, we will be looking at that soon because I know that basically they said you can only have them for a week. They've got to go back. Yeah. So we're going to work on getting Gaz over here as soon as possible to do that. But we've got something else to get out of the way first. But yeah, it's going to be as quick as we possibly can there. Yeah, definitely.
And I would say to anybody who's teetering on the edge of getting them. I would say that it's well worth getting, and sadly the long wait I think will be worth it though. I think they are definitely special things, and I should mention that the bass and the synth one, they do have like a basic drum mode in them too.
Okay.
So it means that if you did go for, if you just want, and similarly the drum one, there's a couple of sounds that you can pitch as well, so all three of them can act as a independent music making sort of tool, albeit obviously restricted. But something that we'll cover deeply in the reviews though is just how excellent the sequencer side of things is.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's saying they want to hear them, so maybe that's something we can work at. Can work on. I mean, to be fair, we hadn't planned on this, so they only arrived whenever it was 24 hours ago, so we weren't.
Yeah.
But and also, as we've only got one guest this week, it's kind of hard for Gaz to duck out of the show while he sets that up. But I'm sure we'll do We'll do the best we can, given the circumstances. Right. Well, let's take a look at some of the other. Some of the other things that we've got in the line. One of the things that was really interesting, I thought, was this MPS encoding.
Sound is working now. I got it working.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Do you want to? Are you ready for that now? Then should we do that now?
Sorry,
that's all right. Go for it.
Hang on, if I just put this up here, tell me if this is coming through okay.
Yeah, that certainly is. So what? That's a particular bass. That's the bass one, is it? The bass engine.
Yeah, and so the different sounds.
Oh, I like that. It's got pulse width modulation.
You getting any bass end there?
Yes, I am actually.
Yeah, I mean.
Chat room says drunk clangers.
But coming out, I got them blasting out my studio monitors here, and it's pretty big sound. So that did take me by surprise. I thought they were going to sound good. I think they're better than I thought they were. I think they're better than I thought they're going to sound.
Wow, nice.
Do you want to hear any of the others?
Oh, go on. Let's have a listen to the beats. I thought because that sounded in the demos that we heard from Cuckoo and what have you sounded quite interesting, and I think that's the sort of thing that might be. I mean, apart from the fact that it'll only do 16 steps, it might be quite an interesting thing just to check out.
Well, the way it works with the various aspects of it, there is some.
No, we're getting that. That's all right. So
I'm just playing that in real time. But
how many sounds has the kit got in it then? Potentially.
It's got 16 sounds, 14 drum sounds, and 2 pitch sounds. But you can do really fun things like this.
Nice. That sounds like it's got some. It sounds like a sort of some classic drum machine samples in there with a bit of extra teenageness going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a quirky way that they work, and the way the effects work, they call them punch-in effects, and they essentially are fixed effects. You got no control over the effects, but as soon as you hold the effect button down and you hit one of the 16 steps, one step buttons, and it'll just for the duration that you hold that key down, it'll apply that effect, but it'll also write it into the pattern. So you can, within a single pattern, one pattern, you can have 16 effects going if you just went through them all. But where it's really super is that the chaining of patterns is fantastic. So you've got 16 patterns in there as well. And I wish the Volca did it this way, but you just simply, you hold the pattern down, and then you can just go, I could just go pattern 1, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, pattern 1, pattern 1, pattern 4, pattern 5.
And it records that
play,
sequence.
And it'll play that sequence of all the patterns. But then you can apply all your automations whilst it's playing the sequence. So you can sort of, wow. Yeah, and it'll record. It won't record, like if you had pattern 1 repeated twice, it wouldn't, you would overwrite the automation in, if you.
So it's the last version of the automation you record. It's always recording effectively.
Yeah. But it means that you can like almost within minutes have like a kind of, 16 bar pattern going on with just the most ridiculous amount of stuff flying off. But what I did notice though is that even though you've got tons and tons of sounds and options, and when you link all three up together, I kind of thought, all this stuff that's going on, I can imagine that a lot of people are going to make essentially the same sounding music.
That's the problem. I mean, that's the problem I was talking about last week, really, with these sort of short sequence type things. It's quite a challenge to get them to do something a bit different. I mean, that's what I was doing. I was talking about using the Volca. I've got the not the Volca, the SQ1. I've got because that's the MS20 desktop, the SQ1, and the Eventide H9, just sort of all running, direct. And that was the challenge that I found with that. In fact, I tell you what, I'm going to go over there and just play you something as well, just because. What the hell? Why the hell not? Let's see whether this sounds any good. And I don't even know if it's going to record on the. I better check to see if it's actually going to record on the. Yeah, it looks like it will. Yeah, I'll see if it'll record. Hold on one sec.
Woohoo! Bonus.
I'm not sure that totally worked out there because I can't hear it properly, and wasn't sure if that was totally in tune. But maybe we'll actually we'll see that. But yeah, that would be the chat room are asking, could we sync it over the internet? That would be pretty mad. Send the sync signal somehow over Skype.
You could, if you could send, because Skype receives stereo signal, or I think it's
No,
mono
I don't
Skype.
think it does. I don't think it does. I think actually that was probably doing it a disservice. If you want to see, I posted something on Facebook yesterday, which was a kind of more. I might be able to play that actually. Let me see. Which sounds a bit more kind of delightful, I thought. Anyway, let's see if I can find that. I may play. Let's see whether it plays. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll tell you what. If I just if I have that, then we can pretend that that's playing because it's essentially the same setup. The H9 sounds awesome on this particular sequence. I think I had a 3 and a 5 or a 3 and a 4 going on this one. So channel A is driving oscillator 1, which is the low note. I really do like the sound of this. And I rather ill-advisedly published this on Facebook with sort of terrible camera switching, but it was just the moment. And then I think, because you can hear this pulse width modulation going on the low note, which is one thing that's new on the MS20.
So essentially, you can drive it as duophonic then?
Not quite. No, actually not quite, because duophonic in the original MS20 you had a CV for the VCO combined, then a separate CV for the VCO in, VCO2 in, CV in. But now that second jack has been replaced by the volt per octave CV in, because now you can drive the Desktop Mini from Hertz volts and volt per octave. And that's sacrificed that particular hole. But there may be a possibility to check on the circuit board that allows you to then plug, find that patch point so you could actually introduce it again. So what you have to do is you have to take the CV out and bring that into a separate, which would be, I think it's the modulation or the envelope control, which then affects the pitch of VCO2 relative to VCO1. So you can create a second sequencer which will be sort of harmonically linked. Oh, that's the idea. I mean, it's a bit tricky. So yeah, it doesn't quite. So that's the one thing missing. But you have got pulse width modulation, oscillator sync, FM from 1 to 2, and also switchable switchable filter rev types on the front panel. And this is the first. I mean, I've played with the MS. I've had the MS20 for years, but this time it made sense. This form factor and the actual, I think I've got another shot of it there. That form factor without the keyboard, it makes it loads more portable. And you can see a lot across the bottom there where the jacks is. There's a load of little buttons, which are in fact holes for replacing for jack fields, because there's mults along the end which has 1/8 inch in and 3/4 inch out, so you can drive it off the SQ1 straight away. And the other ones are like sort of holes that you could put other jack inputs and presumably wire those into the circuit board without having to drill the case. I don't think Korg are kind of saying that you should do that, but I think that they're just there as a challenge, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I think it gets into very dodgy ground when you start sort of saying they're encouraging it, because obviously they wouldn't want.
Well, I was extremely surprised though when I saw the pricing though of it being they're so much more than the MS20 Mini. I mean, it's not just twice as expensive; it's almost 3 times expensive as the MS20 Mini for the and you still have to build it as well.
Excuse me.
It's around 9. I know you get the SQ1 with it, but the SQ1 maybe that's about 89 pounds. I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. The MS20 Mini looks about 370 UK pounds, right. And the I've just got it up on the MS20 desktop kit. Let's have a look. Is, I don't know whether we got it in here, 939. So yeah, it's a bit less than 3 times, but yeah,
it's less than 3 times, but it's, I mean, there's a huge difference. So huge difference. So
there is quite a big
difference.
Yeah, there is quite a big difference.
With that difference in mind, sorry, Nick.
No, carry on.
But with that difference in mind, and obviously the SQ1, if you wanted to buy that, that's going to set you back nearly £100. So maybe knock £100 off it. and you're still talking what, £500 or 450 or something.
Yes, something along those lines. So what would that be?
So to justify that, then what do you think?
Well, that's tricky. I mean, if there was an MS20 desktop mini, which would be maybe 500 quid, I would say, yeah, go for it. The thing is for me, the MS20 desktop has a completely different sort of character as an instrument to me as the MS20. That there's something about the way that it works and the awkwardness of moving it around and stuff that kind of counts against it. And no pulse width modulation, no oscillator sync. They're quite a big deal, I think, really. And also the fact that it's just Hertz volts. I think really, yes, it's a premium. But if they were to, I just really love the form factor, and that's the only way you can get it at the moment, I suppose.
And I suppose as well, it's a brand new product. And when the MS20 Mini came out, that was selling for £500. So it's possibly a little bit of market.
Yeah,
stuff.
That's true. And I think that it's just out. You know, they've just started shipping them. I don't know what the limited edition vibe of it is, but I'm pretty sure they brought the Mini out before they brought the desktop kit out, didn't they? And so they've gone the other way around with these. So I don't know quite what the. I don't quite know whether there will be a Mini. I mean, you know, nobody has said anything, but you know, it would make an awful lot of sense if there was, purely because it's already the Mini has Mini jacks, so you're directly interfacing with your Euro. I mean, that with a Eurorack system, yeah, no, you're talking. But I just the actual form factor of the desktop Mini, the MS20 desktop. Oh, there's so many different types. I just love it. I think it's really, really good.
Well, speaking of Dualphonic and Korg, I have put my order in for the ARP Odyssey.
Have you really? Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And in a way, I just would never in a million years thought I'd ever own one. You know, I know it's not quite the same as owning one from back in the day, but in a way, I think I prefer this new one in terms of the MIDI connectivity and the filter revisions, and you know,
it's really it's really interesting. I know what Dave was saying last week, and you know that nobody's really demonstrated it properly yet. They haven't kind of taken it and go, I love the Odyssey. I mean, there probably aren't that many people around, to be honest, who could do that. So I mean, that's fair enough. But we're actually going to send. There's a big festival in Utrecht at the end of the week on Friday. Saturday, Sunday it is, which is called DanceFair. And remember, I don't know if you remember, last year we had some of the IRAs were first uncovered there. So we saw this. I think it was the System 1 that was first seen, because prior to that we'd only seen the TR8. I don't think there's anything going on like that this year, but we're going to send Ed, who's our modular guy. He's going there to film a bunch of videos, and one of the top of my list is I think we found someone locally who knows the Odyssey, who is going to do some decent demos of it. So that's fingers crossed that comes off, because then we'll have something that's perhaps a bit more Odyssey and musically meaningful. Because at the moment, people are just sort of going, you know, squelchy filters and all the sort of normal stuff. They're not kind of taking it into that direction. So we're really looking forward to getting that. But there will be a bunch of other stuff. It's not going to be like NAMM, where we're posting the stuff real time. It's going to be, you know, we'll go and film a load of stuff. We're going to get a load of interviews and things. It's called dancefair.nl if you want to find out about it. There's loads of speakers talking about sort of workflow and the production of dance music. And I mean, a lot of it is really hardcore, sort of maxed out kind of pumping mixed type stuff, so some quite exciting production things, and it's going to be hopefully we'll come back with a lot of stuff from there. But my priority is from a sort of video from manufacturers, because they've also, as well as the speaking, they've also got an exhibition floor where there's going to be Schneider's Bureau, so you're going to get Schneider's Bureau, so all the synth guys and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm hoping we can get some cool stuff there. So yes, there will be more of that, I hope.
I'm hoping to take the ARP when, I don't know when it'll come, but I'm hoping to take it to Dave Spears and compare it directly.
Yeah, I know he's gagging to do that.
Yeah, so we can do some comparisons. So that would be good. Maybe we can film some of that as well. So I think it would be interesting. But you know, I'm such a prog rock fan. You know, I just love early 70s, mid 70s kind of stuff, and I just, you know, and the ARP Odyssey is such a major voice from that era. I just
well, interestingly enough, I was watching. I fell asleep in front of the telly, and 1980s Top of the Pops came on, and they had John Fox on there, and it sort of came on. I thought, oh, brilliant. They said, no, John Fox doing, and he was doing Underpass, and I thought, brilliant, we'll see the Odyssey there. But no, they'd done a sort of TV version where they just had a set, and instead of the Odyssey and what have you, had 3 synth players, and they all had a CS80, so there were 3 CS80s
Wow.
on stage with him, which if you think, I mean, that is just mental amount. I mean, I was just thinking what that was actually worth in terms of cash.
Yeah, wow.
Astonishing, really. Oh, hold on, I've lost one. I've lost one ear of my headphones. I've got a slightly dodgy connect. There we go. That's better. Anyway, while we've been rambling, I've been thinking that I should probably get the ad going. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll announce the competition winner shortly afterwards and set the new one. So hopefully this is going to play. Here we are. There we go. iZotope, of course, sponsors of the podcast, as they have been for many, many months. Beautiful years. Iris 2 is what we're talking about here. This is the brand new... Oops, that's a bit loud. Synthesizer, 4 oscillators. It's very different from the last one. The last one you had only 2 slots that you could do yourself, and the other 2 were fixed, I believe, if I remember correctly. But now you can drop whatever you want in any of the 4. It comes with 11 gig sample library, which is kind of all of the stuff that they released as libraries. It's now just in one side of things. It's got masses of modulation capabilities. We've got 5 LFOs, 5 envelopes. We've also got macros, and the modulation setup is really easy, up to 100 destinations, and it's very, very easy to set this sort of thing. As you can see there's also the spectral analysis and the spectral editing tool, so you can select particular frequencies or shapes or harmonics, whatever. Iris 2, go get it, basically. You can get a download of 10-day free trial from iZotope.com/iris. And we thank iZotope for their continued sponsorship of the show. And of course, if you were listening, not last show, but the last week's show, because we had one in between, because this is now 393, whereas it would have ordinarily been 392. If you want to check that out, see our guitars and modular guys talking about NAMM from their point of view, that's the previous show. Basically, you can win iZotope Iris 2 this week, but we have a winner from last week, and the winner from last week is a chap called, now if I pronounce this rightly, Chitinous Reflex, and his handle is Chitinous Reflex. I can't pronounce that. I guess you're going to know who you are. I can't spell it. It's a bit small. Chitinous Reflex. If you let me know who you are, then we can get the iZotope Ferry to drop Iris 2, a copy of Iris 2, and your inbox, and you will be delighted, I hope. And also, if you want to win this week, they're running another competition, because they're doing it every week. This is the amazing thing. They're incredibly generous that way. So I guess that means we're giving away, getting on for a grand's worth, or certainly $750, $850 worth of software just this 1 week. If you want to win, basically you just need to tweet this. So I've got the hashtag Iris2 synthesizer, all one word, Iris2 synthesizer. If you're listening to the audio version, hashtag Iris2 synthesizer, one word, and tweet those to @SonicState and @iZotope Inc. In fact, if you've got 140 characters in Twitter, so please do add any other comments in there as well, because we do read them all, because we've got to choose the competition. I know iZotope and the iZotope Fairy also spots it coming through, so anything you've got to say to them, please do. The iZotope Fairy is becoming very popular. People want to meet her. She's becoming a minor celebrity here, so she will probably read it too, but keep it clean, whatever you do. So anyway, if you want to win a copy of Iris 2, which is iZotope's fantastic spectral synthesizer, send the hashtag Iris2 synthesizer, all one word, to @SonicState and @iZotope Inc. There we go. I'll finish up, because the last couple of weeks I've got really carried away with the chatting. We haven't done the ad till a bit late on in the program, and I feel like I've got to start pulling it back. So that wasn't too bad. That's about halfway through. So let's see what else we got to talk about. We haven't actually gone anywhere near the. Oh yes, we did. Oh no, we haven't. We haven't got anywhere near it yet. How about this? This was interesting. This is a piece that's basically, it's by a chap called Ryan Maguire, and what he's done is taken the stuff you lose when compressing MP3s, and also in the video as well. This is Tom's Diner, which I'm obviously very familiar with, because I took this a cappella and made a remix out of it. But what this is actually doing is, this is the artifacts. This is what's left, what's discarded in both MP4 video compression and also the audio compression. which is a really interesting notion. There's the breath there. Anyway, I won't play it all because it's frankly quite difficult to listen to. I was expecting something a bit more musical perhaps, but it's interesting to hear that so much is discarded. And sort of philosophically, what's really sort of fascinating, and this is how we consume pretty much all of our stuff now, sort of heavily compressed MP4 and MP3. And, you know, what happens to all that stuff? You know, that's just sort of in the air, kind of not used. And that's quite an interesting, I mean, because there's quite a lot of that's in the sort of high frequency area. So obviously there's a lot of EQing stuff. I don't know, what do you think about this? It's kind of, it's almost a sort of philosophical discussion, perhaps more than a musical one, but all that stuff that's discarded by some arbitrary algorithm. In fact, I should mention quickly the reason that Tom's Diner was used, because the people at Fraunhofer who developed the MP3 codec used that piece of music as their, you know, once they compressed it, if that sounded good to them, then that was their sort of measuring stick, I suppose.
Mm. Was it your version? Was it the one with the beats?
No, not with beats. No, that's just the acapella, which is the original track. No.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, those are 128K algorithms, and is that the early? Are we listening to like the first? I forgot to check this earlier. I mean, is that the first MP3 codec then? Is that the after effect, or would that be the sound of like a lame or something?
This is hold on, this is if I've got it here, that basically if you want to find, there's a whole bunch of sort of supporting material to go along with this. It's called theghostinthemp3.com.
Yeah.
And you've got basically, I think what he said here was this was I think it was lame.
It was lame.
It was lame, yeah. Using the Bregman PIO and PyDub libraries along with the lame MP3 encoder, I begin with an uncompressed WAV file and save it as an MP3 file. And there are all of the spectrographs in case you find that sort of thing scintillating. And I think I mean, this is very scientific, and it's just quite an interesting kind of thought. I'd be interested to hear what some of the more complex pieces of music, what's lost there.
But I mean, you know, we need to know what the rate of, you know, what MP3 it was to see, you know, because I mean, if that was like if that was after a 8 kilobits sort of,
yeah, no, I see what you mean. Well, that was 128K, so from a WAV file.
That's what we listened to, was 128K.
I believe so, yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it? But what's really interesting about this, I mean, you know, perhaps stepping outside of the notion that we are now becoming used to the norm, you know, where it used to be audio files and you'd hear the difference of your vinyl, what have you. You know, now most of us are just not listening in that kind of environment. So this is now the norm, in the same way that tape became the norm, and those sort of dreadful, oversaturated, kind of badly recorded recordings became something that we kind of now think of as something we should treasure, and a sound that we're trying to emulate through other technology. It's quite an interesting kind of twist.
Yeah. Now, like, you know, DSD, direct stream. What's it?
Is that 1 bit? Is that the
1 bit? Yeah, 2,800 kilohertz. You know, massive sample rate, just in 1 bit. Like, it's a totally different way of working than PCM sampling. I've always wondered about that, and you know, not having the equipment to actually investigate that. Well, actually, the latest update to the much derided Pono actually now lets you do DSD playback. So I've been investigating that this week, and I've got on the Pono, I've got a new cable for my Sennheiser HD650s, which are very good headphones. This is running it in balanced mode. So there's 2 headphone outputs on the Pono.
Right.
But it allows you to run it in a balanced mode.
Right.
Now, you think balanced mode, that short distance, you know what? But the real benefit of it is the HD650s are very high impedance headphones. These fellas here.
Yep.
Of course, these are open headphones, so you can't really wear them without annoying anyone because it's almost as loud for the people in the room as when you're wearing it. But actually, it uses both of the headphone amps to drive it. So you're actually driving one side of the thing with the whole of one headphone amp.
Oh, okay.
I think that's more of the benefit of it.
Sound good?
It sounds good, but I have to say, I've been rereading a lot of the the chap who invented FLAC on the ziff.org. He's done I can't remember his name now, but he's done he really doesn't believe in high sample rates, and also I read a paper that was dissing DSD as well as being a flawed format. So I found this chap online who has recorded in DSD format, and you could download a song in DSD, then at 88.2 kilohertz, 4416, and an MP3 of the same song. And then on the Pono, I was able to create a playlist with
all three of them, right?
And I've got these headphones, as I say, which are really great headphones running in a balanced mode. And I was really struggling to hear the difference.
For you, really?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So I was like, ooh. I mean, it was a nice sound, and it did it made me think, well, if that recording at the beginning of the chain, great mics, great performance, great preamps, I think that survives a lot of that process that,
right.
When it gets down to the MP3, that if all those things are kind of good, then I think it sounds good. Even, I mean, that was a 320 MP3. And I must admit, I struggle to hear the difference on my studio monitors with a 320 MP3 and say 44. Right. I do struggle. I think they sound, and when I bought the Pono, a lot of people are thinking I'm buying into all the snake oil. I kind of just, I don't know. I got it because I'm a gadget fanatic, but but
not really all that different.
I think coming back to that point, I think if it's good coming in,
it's going to be good. Yeah,
it'll pass down the line pretty well, and I think that
that's interesting. I did spot this that because Roland released this new, it's a Super UA USB DAC amp with 1-bit DSP, and this is a new thing that they just released, which is sort of for the hi-fi buffs. And I don't know, kind of, I think it's kind of not a terribly cheap thing, but it's supposed to be, just a really good quality USB format audio interface that gives you these 1-bit DACs and ADCs, I suppose. And that's just out, and that seems to be causing a bit of stir there. I know that they are very proud of it, and I remember several months ago when Roland came down for a visit here to show us something, they were sort of saying, "Have you seen this? You can't tell anyone about it," but I think it looks like it's out there now. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're listening to that and then you're listening to kind of compressed stuff, then it's sort of, yeah. But I'm sure you played something on the Pono where we listened to it in two formats, and there was just more stereo definition. That those sort of details, the spatial stuff, is what really kind of makes a difference, and that's something that can sound very impressive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Pono, there was this business where someone was comparing it to an iPhone. I think we might have touched on it on a show a few weeks back, but that's rubbish. The Pono sounds so much better than the iPhone does. I mean, it for them to be claiming that is ridiculous. I mean, and that's not saying about the sample rate. It's not even getting into that business. We're just talking about maybe the headphone amps, the DAC, whatever. I think that's better. So you can hear a difference, and the main difference, just like you're saying, really is the depth, the stereo dimension. And I mean, I've not been doing a lot of double-blind testing with this stuff, and that's going to be. I'm going to Cardiff in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be doing some rigorous double-blind testing just to really get to the bottom of this for ourselves once and for all. You know, it's funny. I think the amount of vitriol and, you know, rah, kind of people getting really wound up about the Pono is that's quite interesting to me, just because it's making high fidelity an issue again. You know, people are talking about it, and I think that's good. I like
yeah,
that.
no, that is good. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that I did hear, and this was at NAMM. I went to the Blue stand, and they've got these new headphones, which are the MoFi, and they're really funky looking things, and they've got built-in matched headphone amps, and you can switch them into they've got basically they hold a charge. And they're really kind of over ear, very, very isolated. They've got all this amazing kind of engineering into them, and all these kind of interesting swinging arms and stuff. And you know, normally I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. And I've tried them in the in the booth on the show floor, which is a very, very noisy environment. They had someone spinning some vinyl, and I put them on, and you can switch them into kind of active mode, and then there's sort of MoFi mode, which has some sort of extra bit of special sauce in it. And I have to say, even there, I just thought, wow, that sounded really good. You could tell it was vinyl. You know, when you hear vinyl and you just go, that, you know, I know that's vinyl. It's got that sort of soupy warmth to the bottom end, and there's something about it. Even in that environment, I was able to tell that there was something kind of going on. I'd like to hear them in another environment.
Are they expensive?
I think they're about 400 quid. Let me see. Blue MoFi. Let me see if I do a quick search on that. Shopping. Blue MoFi. Blue MoFi headphones. Oh, here we go. 275 quid.
Okay.
But they do sound. I mean, and I'm really, really particular about my headphones. I can't listen to anything other than I use the Sony MD V6s, which are kind of partially closed. I can't bear closed headphones generally, because you get that kind of clamshell kind of everything, and it just freaks me out. I just think I can't listen to these. They sound completely wrong, and I didn't get that on those Blues. So I'd be really interested in fact there might be an opportunity for us to get a few sets and check them out. I'm kind of seeing if they'll do that, but we might be worth doing. And they've got because they've got batteries in them, so they're matched bi-amped power amps in each ear.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of cool. Well, let's see what else is there next. You can choose something from the list if you like, Gaz, because I'm really... Sledge. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I got a video for that. This was shot by Sweetwater at NAMM. I haven't looked at the entirety. Funnily enough, it's the same guy
here at NAMM 2015,
who worked on Clavier and then on the Nord Stage 5.
Exhibit, specifically in the StudioLogic section. New from StudioLogic is an update for the Sledge. It's version 2.0. Doubling the polyphony now to 24 voices of virtual analog. Of course, this great synth features wavetable synthesis, FM, and now you can actually load samples into it. Up to 60 megabytes of samples can be loaded in. They also included a feature now where you can split or layer sounds. Very, very powerful stuff. And they'll be building a very cool sound library to support the instrument. It's being used by many, many pros right now out on tour. Great sounding engine designed by Waldorf. So version 2.0, new from StudioLogic here at NAMM 2015. If you have any questions about the Sledge or any other StudioLogic product, contact your sales engineer at Sweetwater Sound. Thanks.
Yeah, so basically, I thought it might be a new version of the Sledge, but actually it's an it's an OS update, which seems free.
That's peculiar to me, that they could... have
that much spare stuff just hanging about.
Go from an 8 voice to a 24 voice and
60 megs of samples.
I mean, that was a lot of stuff in the background just kind of waiting. That's really, I mean, for a Sledge owner, that would be amazing.
I know. I must admit, when I reviewed the Sledge some way back, and I absolutely love the form factor. This sort of massive, expansive
big thing.
Surface with lots of gaps between the knobs. You know, it's really easy to use and synthesize on. Perhaps not the greatest sounding synthesizer, but I mean, you know, I'd be tempted. I was tempted to keep it as a controller, just purely because you got knob per function on all those things. It's very sort of mini Moog style setup. But yeah, it's really surprising. And what's really weird about this, if you go along, you know, this is a free update, right? But you can't buy the Sledge in many places. It's sort of, it wasn't discontinued, but it sort of fell by the wayside and it's cheaper. So it's now cheaper. I think I found it. Where did I find it? The only place I found it in the States was BH Photo. So it's still $1,000 there. But you know, for a 24 voice, I mean, it is virtual analog, DSP analog.
Cresshead is saying in the chat room that there's a Blofeld inside. The Blofeld's 24 voice and 60 meg of RAM for samples. And what happened with the Blofeld was the desktop came out without a sample facility, and the sample facility was released as a paid upgrade. Did have the Blofeld keyboard.
You've gone a bit stuttery. I don't know if we've still got you. Oh, he's back again. I think it's renegotiated. Are you there still, Gaz?
Yeah, I am.
I think your bandwidth has just gone.
Oh, no.
It looks like you've gone very blocky.
Shall I ring back in?
Yeah, maybe ring back in. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just sort of to give you a little bit more information about it from my point of view. Yes, the build quality was a bit suspect to me. It was quite obviously low cost in terms of the sort of plastic and that side of it, but it's an amazing I thought it was an amazing experience to use. Like, let's see if I can get you back, Gaz. Seems to be a bit better. Let's just grab that there.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, there we go. Carry on.
Yeah, so I was mentioning that the Blofeld, when the Blofeld desktop came out, that didn't have the sample facility, but you could have a paid upgrade for the sample, and then that opened up the 60 meg of sample RAM. So it's you've
got to be careful with that sort of thing, really, because people just go, well, that feels a bit like
they're locking in something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But interesting. I mean, and it's got walled-off wavetables in there as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So
I think you could. I think, what as I say, I saw it it's a 999 a BH Photo video. I couldn't find it on any of the big guys, Sweetwater. I couldn't find it at Sweetwater, incidentally, which that Sweetwater video was on, but or Guitar Center or any of those places. But I could find it at BH Photo, and in the UK, it's a bit more available. It's about 670, 680 quid.
Wow.
But it's a big old thing, and it is. Some people hate the color, some people don't like.
I love the color.
I
love the color. I think it would look great on stage. Seeing something, bright and colourful like that, I think it's great. Different from the Nords that you see everywhere.
Excellent. Sledgeman in the chat room has called it a Sledgefeld, which I guess is as it's got the Blofeld inside. Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I'm just kind of not sure what the. It feels like a really unusual way to release something when you're something that sort of feels like it's nearing end of line. I mean, I guess it's not. Maybe they've got a whole warehouse full of them, or maybe there will be another version. I mean, it'd be nice to see another version.
Makes you wonder if they've done this deliberately then, if they've held back these facilities to kind of give it a new, in the marketing sort of decision. We'll say, 3 years later, we'll pop out version 2.
Yeah, and it is possible to get some nice polysynth sounds in it. I mean, you have to work at it a bit harder, but it's very the hardware is very amenable to that sort of tinkering because it's just you've got nice big knobs for that.
And it's laid out like a mini Moog as well, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Similar. So which is it? I've always liked that layout. I think it's I like it. You got your envelopes on the right. Everything feels like it's in the right place. Mind you, that's because the Mini Moog's the first synth I really learnt on. So that's what attracted me to it. I mean, it does feel a bit cheap.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a kid's lunchbox in place. That kind of creaky plastic. If you take it and you twist it like that, it kind of goes, and the keyboard is kind of cheap, but. I don't know, it is a cute thing.
But that does lead me on to something I have been thinking about lately, though, about how durable things are. I mean, I've got the Gaia here, although sadly not for much longer, as that's going to be leaving me to make room for the ARP, which I think is a decent upgrade. But that thing has done lots and lots of gigs. It's taken some pretty nasty falls as well. It's taken some... And it's absolutely immaculate. There's not a mark on it.
Wow.
And it did get me. It was making me think about that. That is an element of modern technology that we sometimes overlook. Really, is just sort of how durable things are. There's almost like a toy-like quality to it, but then
Somehow
maybe that toy.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, drop it down the stairs. I mean,
will you be putting that in your eBay description when you?
Oh no! What have I said? But I mean, it is everything. Everything works on it. There's nothing's broken off it. Nothing is chipped or, So there is. I think that's an interesting element. Then I mean, and I wonder with the new ARP Odyssey whether that will have some of the benefits of modern manufacturing technologies.
I think so. I mean, I think well, for a starter, you don't get that kind of overhang key that you did on. I can't remember which version of the Odyssey it was, but that was obviously crazy because that's just going to snap off. I mean, even just picking it up and kind of, you're going to catch it on your jumper and it'd be easy to.
Electron didn't learn that one, did they, with the analog keys?
Yeah, that was a shame. That was a design decision, I think, but. Yeah, and from what I could tell, it felt nicely built, for what you're going to be getting. I mean, obviously, with all of these things, there's going to have to be some sort of compromise for mass production. Or there generally is, whether that's something that you're prepared to live with is okay. But, I mean, I don't know. That's a choice of the individual. I mean, obviously, like you take, say, a Mini Moog or a Moog Modular reissue. No, they're built like tanks, but you're paying absolute top dollar for that kind of stuff. So, we can't have it both ways, generally speaking. I mean, coming back to the MS20 desktop, that has the same sort of build quality as the MS20 kit, I would say. So some of the knobs... there is movement in them, but I think, as I explained, it's because of the nylon shafts, because the actual pots themselves are kind of bolted through the circuit board. It is circuit board mounted, but it's not that crummy stuff. It's kind of like really kind of heavily clamped in. And also the patch field, I mean, this is the nightmare. It's like when you go to, the shot in Alien where they go into the room and there's all those little pods sticking up. You got those, then you got a knob, a nut on top of it, which holds the guard. Then there's another nut on top, so it's double nutted. So it's quite sturdy in that sense. I mean, I think it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to build that thing. And I didn't use what I used in the end was a socket set, and I just twisted all of the stuff. So I put that on and twisted them on rather than use that sort of funny little spanner that you get with it that's got a bit of paper on it, because it's very easy to scratch stuff, I think.
They're going to let you keep this one now, aren't they?
No, I doubt it. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier to ship back. I mean, the thing about the MS20 kit, when they said, "Oh, you got to send it," messages, there's no way I'm taking this apart.
Yeah, no,
because it's beautifully packaged. The MS20 kit, the desktop is a lot simpler because it hasn't got the keyboard and it hasn't got that sort of right angle case, so it's much easier to sort of manipulate. So I'll just bung it all in a big box and send it back. But yes, no, I'd love to keep it, but I can't expect these sort of things. I mean, it's not not something that you can count on ever. And I've got an MS20, so I'm not going to buy another one, really.
Yeah, I just reckon. I think they built it for you, though.
You think?
Pulse with the pulse width modulation. It's you dreamt that into existence, haven't you?
Well, what's really weird is when I did the thing with Rich Formadoni, who was obviously fairly mashed from NAMM and was focusing mostly on the Odyssey, I guess. I said, "Has it got pulse width modulation?" And he said, "No." But it does. I can verify that it does, definitely.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I did think about the idea of maybe selling my MS20, the original, before they completely crumble in price, and just buying one of those instead. But I don't know what my MS20 would go for. I haven't really been following that. I mean, people have said in the, I don't know, chat rooms, have you noticed whether the MS20 has dropped in price since these reissues? And I guess the same might happen for the Odyssey. I mean, the chat room will probably know, because they are the giant brain. I guess there's a bit of a lag, so I'll keep talking until someone posts in there. Maybe they will. No, perhaps not. But if somebody responds to that, we'll let you know. But so, yeah. Oh, here we go. They're coming now. I'll give you 20 quid for it. 200 quid. Yeah.
It doesn't affect guitars, though, does it? Guitars, it doesn't, like they bring out like a 59 Gibson Les Paul reissue and it doesn't affect the original ones.
Wow. MS20, vintage MS20, $1,000 US. God, is that all? They used to be about 2,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that is a fairly major. Well, anyway. Okay. Well, maybe I missed the boat there, but it's not like I use my MS20 repeatedly. So I suppose I should have sold it much sooner on. Oh well. Is there anything else in there? Oh gosh, it's 5:10. Amazing. I haven't really got. There's a couple of other things in here, but I'm not quite sure what to put in there. Let's have a look. Oh, did you see this MIDI morph? This thing was interesting. We'll play this. MIDIphosis for Mac. I think it plays a video. This is basically a plugin. Just pitch to MIDI, basically, by the looks of things. They've got the pick noise in there just so that you can hear, you know, the difference between the two. Perhaps not the most inspiring demo. Let me have a look. You can MIDIphosis polyphonic. Oh, yeah, just oops, no, not that one. Polyphonic. It's only $7.99. You buy it on the App Store. I think it looks like it's a plugin. Is it a plugin? Let me see. I can't see whether that is a plugin at all. It's. No, that's not it. That's an iOS version, isn't it? That's not quite the same thing. I wasn't sure that is the same thing. I think I've got the wrong page there. But but it's something interesting, I think, in terms of, you know, because it's this whole notion of something that you're fluent in being able to translate to another kind of sound source is quite appealing to me. You know, the idea of being able to use your voice, and, you know, we've looked at various things like that. I mean, I don't know, he obviously wasn't playing any low notes on there, but kind of cool. Do you use anything like that?
Yeah, I've investigated this whole area for many years, really, into quite some depth, I suppose. And you know, obviously, Sonus their range of like monophonic pitch to MIDI converters are pretty cool. They especially the well, I've got one here somewhere. The one that goes to USB. I can't remember the model number now. And that's pretty cool, you know. But it's the thing about what you're saying there, I think, is cool, but having to play monophonically is such a kind of. Well,
this does poly apparently. No, it is an iOS device. So you basically just plug the MIDI into your DAW, for instance, and then it will just convert it on the input. I think that, but it does it polyphonically as well. I mean, although he wasn't demonstrating that.
Yeah, but I've tried it. It's sort of certain poly things kind of work, but it doesn't really let you kind of be free polyphonically. You know, you have to be, you know, you really have to be. You can do certain things with it. You can't do everything you want to do with it. I mean, the Roland stuff, like the GR55, which I've often mentioned, is a fantastic polyphonic synthesizer. Wonderful. The triggering is outstanding, and the playability is uncompromised on that thing, especially with guitar. Or I'm just setting up a new bass now with my piccolo bass, which I'm putting the MIDI pickup onto the piccolo bass for the faster tracking that'll give me. That's why I've been doing piccolo bass stuff lately, getting used to.
Is that the G2M there? That thing?
Yeah, that one there. They're nice. They're nice.
I think
that's
I
reviewed
I reviewed the G2M actually, and I think I did, and it was okay. I mean,
they're okay.
You do have to adapt your playing with those sort of things, don't you? Yeah,
you do. You have to play very clean, and you do have to play very considered. And I kind of think you know, what you're saying about translating your one ability into another ability, I think that doesn't necessarily apply, because you're having to essentially learn a new ability, which is to play clean monophonically, which which is a different approach. But I think that the like coming back to the GR55, that is, you know, it's worth spending a bit of time with some of the GK setups. If you're interested in that kind of thing, if you were to go into a shop and try it, you might be a bit underwhelmed with it.
Well, you put it to great use, haven't you? I mean, you've used it for kind of live performancing and
all over the world. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
But you've got to put a bit of time in.
Absolutely. And like with the GR55 it's not very nice to program on the unit itself. It's a hell of a menu diver, you know, it really is. You get this huge long list of parameters that you go through. It's not fun. But there is a third-party editor made by a chap who goes under the name of Gumtown. It's a free editor that is fantastic. And so when I was doing the Carl Hyde rehearsals, and actually the Pop Air thing, I used it for both of those big projects. I had a laptop with me during the rehearsals, so I was able to use the laptop to edit it. But through some contacts in Roland, I was pleading with them to make it an iPad editor for it. Which would be brilliant, but they never did. And I think that was a missed opportunity there, because I think, you know, an iPad, so you can do all your programming.
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Amazing, yeah. Because it's a deep synth engine in that thing.
Just via the chat room, Jam Origin is supposed to be very good as well. We've got +1 little. Oh, where did that go? I missed it. It went past. It's all gone past. But that's supposed to be very good, and it works polyphonically as well if you're in the market for that sort of thing. So that might be worth testing and checking out.
Oh, okay. That's quite cool. I mean, I guess it's going to be one of those things, though, isn't it? Just, you know, the Roland advantage, having those sort of hex pickups, being able to sort of process all the strings independently. It's always going to be a better approach, isn't it, than it being able, you know, real time, trying to work out what's going on in a polyphonic, you know, essentially. I'm intrigued to see how far they can get with that, really. But
no, this looks kind of interesting. This is you can get it for Windows, Mac OS X, app for iOS, and MIDI guitar for GarageBand. It's polyphonic, ultra low latency, integrates with DAW. MIDI license $99, so I guess that's about 65 quid given the current thing. Oh look, and here's. Let's have a look. We may as well test this while let's see what this sounds like. Go on then. Sounds like it's got velocity in there as well. Obviously, sustain pedal fully on. Let's see. That's interesting. Slightly, not really polyphonic, more monophonic with the sustain pedal on there, but maybe if it does do polyphonic as well, that would be kind of cool. And obviously you can see that guy is playing very sort of tightly, but I'm guessing maybe it learns from your stuff too. Yeah,
it's a funny old thing though, isn't it? Because I mean, when you're playing piano on a guitar, there's such a difference in the approach of playing those instruments that it's to learn to play piano that sounds authentic on a guitar is again a different technique, really, isn't it? You know, and a dubious one in some respects, because the piano is always going to be better. For me, the interest really is more in synthesizers and with the, you know, exploring synthesizer parameters and being able to translate directly what you're playing into generating, you know, interesting, emotive, you know. I think that's the key for me. That is the key. And this is something that we often talk about on Sonic Touch as well. Is that, you know, expression. You know, if the technology is getting in the way of your expression, then it's a no-no for me. I think it's you know, the technology has to inspire, and that expression, you know, and to really reward if you put in an expression there and it's coming back at you, then that's
actually in the chat room they're basically saying the Wind controllers are the ones that really work. I remember when we shot the Moog orchestra with Will Gregory, and there were some people playing the AX, the WX7. I forget the name of there was a Yamaha one and an Akai one. And just the expressivity that came to monophonic synths by adding filter from, breath, pressure and all that really came to life. And that seemed to be a really brilliant translation from an expressive monophonic instrument into another monophonic instrument, and creating a very expressive synthesizer. That really worked really well. And particularly when they were doing the filter stuff, I mean, some of those things, because they were played with the right technique, they really did sound like brass instruments, even though they were not brass instruments. They were just being played, or wind instruments, but they had that quality to them, and that can work really well.
Yeah, because their expression is being rewarded.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is the key. It is the key. But I think one thing that hasn't really been explored a lot, I don't think, because I'm basing this on the presets perhaps in the GR55, but is the way that if you have different strings doing different things and being able to have different sounds on different strings, and having, like, one of the things I use quite a lot is I have like two outer strings playing like an organ sound, and the inner string playing like a Fender Rhodesy kind of sound, but the Fender Rhodesy sound has the sustain on.
Ah, okay.
So any note that I play on in the middle string, it has sustain, and then the bottom string I have is just like a bass guitar note. So I can play, this peculiar hybrid sort of thing.
So effectively, you designed a kind of playing mechanism and workflow that works for you to be able to express within, right?
Exactly. And it's sort of and it's fun. I mean, it's and I think that that side of things is really interesting. And you can do some pretty cool things, like with a Sonos thing. There is some very nifty things you can do there in terms of you can set ranges to have different MIDI. So even though you're playing monophonically, you can set various ranges to output different MIDI channels.
Okay.
So as soon as the pitch is moving out, as you're moving into different ranges, it can be playing different sounds. So you can do some quite interesting things. Again, if you use sustain. So if you've got the sustain on, you play low notes and then they're sustaining. So you go up and play high notes. Those low notes continue to sustain until you give it a new note, and then it swaps to the new sustain note. And that sort of stuff is a great way of getting around that monophonic limitation and make polyphonic music with it.
Right. Well, I think we're probably at the natural end of the show. I want to say thank you very much to Gaz for coming and joining me this time and holding the fort. Me and him, we never want for any other input. We can usually manage to fill plenty of time between us. So
I could keep on going.
Oh well, it's all fascinating stuff. So I want to say thank you very much. I also say thanks ever so much to iZotope for the competition. Just to recap there, in case you missed it earlier, if you want to win Iris 2, which is the iZotope spectral synthesizer, send the hashtag Iris2 synthesizer at Sonic State and at iZotope Inc. Just tweet that out and add, you've got 140 characters, add some more stuff there too, so do it. And of course, congratulations to the winner of the show, winner of the theme tune competition. Very much appreciated. And as I said, I will try and get a kind of short list so you can check out the quality of some of the others. I might even put it all up there. I have got a playlist going. Some of it didn't come in via YouTube, so it's a little more complicated to do than that. But thank you and congratulations to Peter Rundgren. We will be in touch, and the iZotope Ferry will be sending the gifts your way. So anyway, Gaz, thank you very much. I'm seeing you tomorrow. We're going to go and have a look at the Volca sample, right?
That's right, yeah. And I just wanted to plug the project I've been working on today with my good friend and collaborator, Sebastian Goldfinch. Pork Ticket, it's called. And it's the illest, horriblest music anyone's ever heard. But we've done it for about 10 years now.
Is this the one you try and make it as bad as possible?
Oh, it's grim. It's grim. It's trying to make a really unpleasant, unsettling, and just it's so much fun working it within that area, where you're trying to make music to make all the wrong turns, to be Excellent. Really.
Where can people find that, Gaz? I've just done a search.
Well, we're going to, there won't be anything up online yet. It's going to be, but we are just preparing an album. So, and after this is like 10 years in the making, or more than, probably, wow, getting on for 15 years actually, thinking about it. So it's Pork Ticket, and I'll plug it more on the show. But it's good fun. But we are going to do a Pork Ticket live, which is probably going to be like the horriblest concert ever. I can
just imagine the poster for that. Anyway, Gaz, thank you very much. I think what I'm going to do is play out with our theme tune once again, just so that you can fully enjoy its greatness. I think I'll do it with that.